Hello, I'm Heather,
And I'm Ryan,
and this is the Politics Free Podcast,
where you can come for a short time each week to get away from the madness of the world.
while we carry on as though nothing important or noteworthy is happening,
So join us for some conversation,
and some silliness.
while we attempt to put you in a better mood by the end of the episode than you're in right now.
Welcome to our bubble.
Welcome to our bubble.
Heather.
Ryan,
Hello.
we made it. It
Welcome
let
to
us
our
through
bubble.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to our bubble.
You're welcome.
I think I realized why we weren't connecting last week. I think I kept hitting the little red hang up the call button like an old lady trying to figure out a cell phone.
Oh,
I'm pretty
very
sure that's what
interesting.
happened. Yeah. So because when I didn't. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was going to say I went about it like the most weirdest way ever. I had to like go to my profile and I scrolled down to where it was like go live with Heather and had to click on that. And then I was waiting for you, whatever. And then as we logged in just now, I happened to notice a big button that said go live. And I pushed it and it connected us immediately. And I was like, well, that was a lot easier than last week.
Well, there we go. We figured it out. And this is the Politics Free Podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ryan.
And we don't necessarily need to say that on stereo because our names are written right under our avatars, but that's for the benefit of whoever listens to the podcast later and doesn't tune in on stereo.
The show.
Just a few things. I'm going to get the ball rolling for once, Ryan, if that's okay with you.
Oh, only for once?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
So tonight the topic is parenthood. Ryan and I are brother-sister duo. Oh, first, a little clarification, by the way. Politics free. We just don't talk about politics. That's what that means. Want to clarify that. Ryan and I were brother-sister podcasters. We're also parents. We thought we would just take a nice, fun, light look at parenthood. We're not going to get too deep or too serious or too dramatic about anything. So I've been keeping notes all week on this topic.
And I got told yesterday what the topic was going to be.
Okay, well, I set the schedule for this show last week, 5 minutes after our last show ended, and you accepted it early on in the week, so you really should have known before yesterday if you want to think it through logically.
Wait, was there a title on it already?
Yeah, the Politics Free Podcast, Parenthood, #family, #stories, #parenting, boom.
That's what you put like 5 minutes after you scheduled it after the end of our last one?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's what I did.
No, I think you changed it yesterday and then told me about it.
It's been sitting there all week. Nope.
No.
Let's talk
Heather.
about parenthood. Parenthood. That's what we're here to talk about today. I thought it would be fun to start with things that we learn after the fact. Like you have your kids, you didn't really see it coming, or nobody ever told you, or it turned out differently than you thought that it might. And I've written down numerous examples. So for example, well, first of all, it starts when you first get pregnant and you're like reading what to expect while you're expecting and all the literature and Googling everything. And then it's like, oh, this is how far along you are. And this is about what the baby looks like. And this is how the baby can die. And you're like, whoa, what are you getting? Like, it gets very dire. Like every chapter that's like, here's the typical. And then they're like, here's everything that could possibly go wrong. And, those things are rather rare. Like, yes, they can go wrong, but they're rather rare. But so you end up sort of deserting the entire idea of trying to read anymore because it's just very terrifying. So you end up missing things. And my first example here is just like the day of the birth of your first child. As the woman, when you have the baby, the afterbirth comes out after the baby does, right? This I knew. what I did not realize is that I would be sitting there for close to an hour, just like ho-hum, waiting like for this to finally finish the whole entire labor. And meanwhile, they had whisked my baby away off to do whatever they do at hospitals. So I was like, when's my baby coming
Wait,
back?
what?
And when, yeah, like, okay, so she
They
was
take
born,
your-
right?
Yeah.
And they plopped her onto my stomach all bloody and stuff. And I was like, oh, my beautiful baby, this is wonderful. Then they whisked her away to clean her and they brought her back. And I was like, oh, you're clean now. You're so cute. You're so much cuter when you're clean. And then I was ready to get off the table and go to my room or whatever with my new baby. And they're like, whoa, you have to wait for the placenta to come out. I was like, oh, kind of thought that would have already been done by now. So we waited and they took her off to give her, I guess, shots or something that they get.
Huh.
But I was starting to get antsy after a while when the placenta finally did come out. This is a moment of pride for me. The doctor just grabbed Mike, my husband, said, look at this. This is a perfect placenta. It is exactly what it should look like. I was like, even though I had no real control over that, I still feel like I'm going to take credit for it. That's right.
Very interesting.
Yes. Next on my list. Oh, did you have something?
Yeah, I had stuff to add to that.
Yeah, do it.
So I was gonna say over here on this side of the states, not once did the baby ever leave our room, or I should say Rebecca's room. And the placentas came out almost immediately for her. I think all they did was, she gave birth on the bed thingy. They were able to like change the sheets and all that stuff. Like she never once had to get out of bed. The kids never left the room. But I will tell you that I never watched the videos. It was recommended that you watch childbirthing videos before watching a live childbirth. And I thought, meh, I don't think I'm like, I got a strong stomach, whatever. Like that shit's not going to bother me. Well, let me tell you that I was not prepared for a live childbirth. With the first kid, we're sitting there and she's going through her contractions and, doctor's like, okay, I need you to hold her leg up. So I was holding up one leg. Her mom was holding up the other leg. He's like, when she starts having a contraction, I need you to count to 10 so she knows how long to push for. And I was like, okay, good. I got this, right? So I'm holding her leg. Contraction comes. I start counting 1, 2. And so she's pushing. While she's pushing, I'm like looking down, watching, and she starts shitting. And I'm like,
God.
Oh God. And all of a sudden, and I'm like up to 5 and I get a whiff of shit in my face, my mouth. And I'm like, and nurse comes over without skipping a beat, wipes it away, goes and throws it in the biohazard container. And that happened several times. And I was not prepared. It was all sunshine and daisies. Like when we went to the hospital for the first one, it was the weirdest thing. So we wake up Sunday morning and Rebecca sits up and I'm already out of bed. Like I had just gotten out of bed and she goes, oh God, I think I wet the bed. And I was like, okay, well, I helped her up and I start pulling the sheets off and she goes, I won't stop peeing. And I was like, that doesn't sound like pee. I was like, did your water break? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, well, I'm sitting there thinking about every fucking movie I've seen with a woman whose water breaks. And it is the most dramatic thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, well, it couldn't possibly be your water breaking. This is really weird. So we call the hospital and we're like, hey, so like she won't stop peeing. And they're like, that's because her water broke. And I was like, oh, so her water did break. They're like, yeah, well, just bring us a sample just in case. And so I was like, okay. So we just grabbed the bed sheet, and so Rebecca's like, well, I got to take a shower first and put on my makeup. And I was like, okay. So she takes a shower, puts on her makeup. We get in the car, and like, so I'm like, so we're going to go to the hospital now? She's like, well, let's go stop by my parents and let them know. So I was like, okay. So we stopped by her parents and, to go let them know, hey, we're on our way to the birthing center. Her water broke. And the dad's like, great, let me cook you breakfast. So he cooks us breakfast, and we sat down and had breakfast for about an hour, and then moseyed on over to the hospital. And we get there, and I hand them the sheet with the amniotic fluid on it, and they're like, are you still leaking? She's like, yeah. And they're like, well, your water's definitely broken. Let's get you in. We'll get you all checked in and all that stuff. And it was like the most uneventful water breaking I've ever witnessed in my life, which is the only real water breaking I've ever witnessed in my entire life. But yeah, it was just like, I was blown away by the whole thing, because I was expecting her to just be in writhing agony the entire time, rushing off to the hospital,
I know it's yeah. That is the funny thing. It's like I was expecting the same thing, I guess, for it to just all come rushing out, and it did, because both times the doctor actually broke my water for me, so it came out in one giant gush, just like out onto the table, splashed over onto the floor like a waterfall. I was like, holy
wow.
damn. But yeah, it can be, it's just different. It's different for every single woman.
Yeah.
The other thing that I kind of didn't really realize until after I had my first child on breastfeeding is how many holes there are in a nipple. And like, when you breastfeed your baby, it is insanely messy. It's just dripping all over them. It's spraying them in the face. They're trying to dodge it. Like, I want some. Like, and you're like, it's like dripping down your stomach, like into your underwear. And you're like, oh God, what is happening with this process here? I thought this was like beautiful joy of motherhood. It's just a hot, sticky mess. But so that was fun, which is then when I learned the other thing that you don't learn about is that when you go to give your baby a bath, those neck rolls, because of all the, the breast milk battle that you've just had, it congeals in their little neck rolls and gets all dirty and stuff. You got to like peel them back and clean it out really well. Oh, messy little guys. Yeah. It's just tiny little details, but like, oh, go on.
I wasn't prepared for was the first poop. The black tar glob that comes out was one of the, like, it was like up there on weirdest things I've ever witnessed. But it was just a big black old bubble that looked like tar, and was not as hard to clean as the nurse had made it sound like it was going to be. But yeah, that and getting shit on and peed on, and I've had all those experiences. Is good times.
It's funny. I was watching a YouTube video at one point some years ago, and it was like the topic of the video was things that Hollywood constantly gets wrong about real life, right? And I forget what all of the things were, but one of them was like he was getting on Hollywood's case for having these dramatic diaper changing scenes where somebody doesn't know how to change a diaper. And so like they're getting peed on and the baby's crying. And I'm like, no, that is how the first couple of diaper changes go in real life.
Yeah.
If you've never done it before and you don't know that the baby might pee in the middle of you changing the diaper because the cold air suddenly hits them. And that even if you have a girl, that pee is going to hit you straight in the face if you don't watch out. And, they're going to cry because they're cold. They don't like being cold. They just came out of their like 98-degree environment for the last 9 months.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, you must never have changed a diaper. You think it's that easy?
Right.
You know nothing. Oh, the other thing, and this is it's again, one of those tiny little details. They will kick their socks off of their feet. It doesn't matter. You can put their socks on and they just, because all they can move at the beginning is their legs. They're just pumping their legs, pumping their socks right off of their feet. So I remember my friend had invited me to her baby shower, and I had already had my kids.
Yeah.
I think by the time she was having her first. And I was like, I brought you this gift. And it was those, I call them booty pants, which is probably not a great name for pants for babies. but it's like they have this sock attached to the pant leg. It doesn't come off. It's just like a stocking, basically, but it's looser than a stocking. And I just gave her a bunch of those, and I was like, here you go, like all proud of my gift. She was like, cool, thanks. Other people had gotten her like the fanciest stroller and this and I mean, I got her other stuff too, but she actually texted me a while later. She was like, these things are a godsend. I was like, I told you, all they're going to do is kick their socks off. There's no point in even making baby socks that small, my opinion.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Another thing that shocked me.
Sock pants. Anyways, yes, what?
Ooh, sock pants. That is a better name than booty pants. Check mark for Ryan. You get a point for that. Nice. Sock pants. Nice. I was going to say, this is the other thing that just killed me, is that this possibility exists in the universe, which is that a baby might not be a morning person. They might be a horrible grouch in the morning. Just a regular 1.5-year-old. I was so shocked to discover this in not my first child, but my second child. To this day, she's 6 now. She'll be 7 in May. And she is she just hates mornings. She hates them. She's in a horrible mood every morning. She doesn't want to talk. She cries. When she was little, like 1.5, 2 years old, I would hear the little thump of her getting out of bed, and I would walk to the bottom of the stairs and look up, and she would just be standing at the top of the stairs, just like crying. Why is it morning? I was like, you could just sleep longer. It's not like we're going anywhere. You're 2. You're not even in daycare yet. But it's just so fun, like that little tiny bit of personality, and the little bits of personality you'll see in your kids as they grow up.
Yeah.
And that one manifesting in,
It's interesting to see those some personality traits stick with them. It's like, I mean, there's things that like Sophie does now, the kids do now, at 14 and 11 that, we noticed in them early on, like as young as 2, where they really start developing their personality. It's a trip. It's so weird seeing it,
I just remembered one tiny little thing that Charlie, my older one, would do. I'm saying that to you like you know who she is, but just in case anybody listening doesn't know. But she would do this thing. She'd ask for pretzel. She'd bring me the whole bag, and then she'd stand there because she was maybe like 4 and she was still nonverbal at that time. And she would stand there and look at me, and I would have to hand her one at a time exactly 4 pretzels. And if I handed her only 3 pretzels, she would stand there and just stare me down until she got the 4th pretzel. And if I handed her a 5th pretzel, she would take it and whip it across the room like, how dare you?
Oh my gosh.
That is not part of this system, which I just always found hilarious. So I'd often give her the 5th pretzel just to see her whip it distastefully across the kitchen. Like, no, I shall not have this. Okay. The other thing, or another thing, they will repeat everything you say at the most inappropriate time imaginable. Like going up to our neighbor and being like, my daddy says you're a bag of dicks. Like, nope, that's not happened? That's just at home. No, but it's an example of what might happen.
Oh,
here's one that actually did happen. I had her, she was 1.5 in the shopping cart. We were going down the bread aisle. I remember it was the bread aisle. I was very invested. Which bread do I want? I don't know. And all of a sudden, out of the lips of my angel, it was just like, fuck. Whoa, hey. No, don't say that one, honey. Don't say that one. But she loved the reaction, so she did it again. Fuck. And then people standing the aisle thought it was hilarious and started laughing. And so now she was like, I got the laugh. I'm going to keep going with this whole fuck. I was like, oh my God. I can't even get mad at her because I did this with my own potty mouth.
Really?
Oh,
well. Like in front of her. Gotcha.
Yeah, like
Is
I'm
that what you're
obviously
talking about?
swore in front of her. Yeah, yeah, like I would
Yeah.
swear. Well, because when you go up and you spend your whole life being in environments where nobody cares if you swear, and you end up just swearing. It's part of your language. I have sworn, like on my other podcasts that I do, where I monologue on my morning walk.
Uh-huh.
I have to listen to every episode because I decided I wanted it to be a clean one instead of an explicit one. And
Right.
I've noticed that I have to listen because I will swear without even thinking about it. And I'll be listening. I'll be like, oh, I did not realize I swore there. And I have to beep it out. But yeah, it's just such a
Yeah.
natural part of my language that I have a hard time not doing it. And so now Holly knows them all. Thankfully, Charlie hasn't caught on to many of them yet. Whew.
Yeah.
Because that'll be really difficult. I can't say to her, don't do it in front of other people. That won't compute.
It's funny because I'm sitting here trying to think of a time where either of our kids have done that. Like, seriously, like, we got so fortunate with these girls, Heather. Like, they have, like, I can't even think of a time where they had repeated something. They've been real good about the swear words, like, because I swear at home, Rebecca swears. And it's like, like I just tell them, like, hey, you can't use those words. Those are adult words. And they're like, cool. Sounds like a plan. And it's not until recently I heard Sophie the other day at 14. I heard her say, motherfucker. And she's just playing some game. And I was just like, okay, well, there it is. I guess this is happening now.
The gaming brings it out in all of us, apparently. So I understand. Um, Another point, and you don't realize this till you have your own kids, because I've always been like really patient with kids for the most part. One
Mhm.
slight exception when I had a very unruly, I was in high school and like I got tasked with running an elementary school music class one time. And
Ooh,
it's like they had
exciting.
all of the most difficult kids in this class. It was known for being the most difficult element. They had made a previous teacher cry in front of them. Okay.
Really?
Yes. So I went in there with my potty mouth. They loved it. I was like, I'm rocking this thing. I got them to do the stage and play the things. It was awesome. And then I guess one of the moms was asking their son who was in the class, like, how do you like your new music teacher? And they're like, she's really cool, but she swears a lot. I got cremated. I got so busted for that. They were like, you are now no longer teaching this elementary school class because of all of
Oh
your
my
swearing.
gosh.
So that was humiliating. But hey, I got them to do the performance.
Hey,
Darn it.
do you know who the narc was that ratted you out?
I do. Yes, I will not name him.
You're gonna have to tell me
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you
for
later.
sure.
But the reason I said all that is because outside of that one exception, I tend to be pretty patient with kids. So one of the things you don't realize, because you come in, you're like, I love kids, I'm patient with kids, until it's your own kids and they get to a certain age and your patience wears thin so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate that. And I wish that I could be more patient with them, especially at this young age. I mean, I'm not always impatient,
Right.
but like they test you so much harder than other
They do.
kids do. Like
And well, it's different because you live with these animals. You know what I mean? Like you go out into the world and you're with other kids where you only deal with uh things that would typically annoy you with your kids. If But this other child, it's now a new child that you don't deal with, so, you don't have that experience with them, and it's easier to be patient with them because this could be like a one-off thing with that child.
Yeah.
Like I could imagine a teacher who spends the majority of her day with the same group of children, they're going to start testing her patience. In fact, I was one of those children that tested every single one of my teacher's patience. And I very certainly tested mom and dad's patience all the time.
Yeah, I think even more than I did.
Yes.
Most of the time. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Did I ever tell you the story about, okay, here's a time that I tested some patience. Do you remember when they cleared away that whole forest of trees to put in the soccer field and it was nothing but a giant field of mud? Do you remember that? Before the soccer field was there, they cleared away like a part of forest land that was there.
No, that soccer field has always been there.
No, when we first got there, it wasn't there. It was forest, and then they cleared away the forest, and before they put the soccer field in. You're talking
about where the track and the soccer field is?
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Heather, I'm pretty sure that soccer field was always there.
Man, you're so contradictory. This story is a good one. And I'm telling you that it happened, and I know what I'm talking about, and I'm a little bit older than you. I don't want to brag or anything, but I was a little bit older when this happened, and so my memory's probably better in this instance.
Heather, I do want to bring up Exhibit A. You have told me on numerous occasions that you don't have a great memory and that you sometimes second guess some of the memories that you have because of how poor your memory is. So
why don't we just do this?
I might be younger, but I'm pretty sure that soccer field was there.
Let me start the story over. Even though you were totally wrong, completely interrupted a perfectly good story with nonsense. Here's the deal. There was a field of mud, okay? Are you happy? That's how the story starts. A field of mud. This part I'm sure about. It was where the soccer field was going to be because they cleared away the trees, but that's not important anymore. I went swimming with my friend Jessica in the field of mud because it was like up waist high on a kid, okay? We just went swimming. It was fun. Yeah. There was no pool nearby. Didn't want to hike to the pond. Jumping in the mud. Yeah. I covered myself head to foot in mud. I came home. Walked in at the mudroom/laundry room entrance, touched everything imaginable on my way through, walked all the way down the carpeted hallway, touching the walls as I went, to the bathroom at the end of the hall, took off all my muddy clothes, got in the shower, things were going great. Suddenly I hear the door open, slam shut, and Mom screaming, "Ryan!" She thought it was you. She thought it was you. I was like, oh, the only way I'm not blaming this on him is because she's going to see who gets out of this shower and it's not going to be Ryan. So I pretty much had to fess up right away. But other than that, I think you tried their patience a little more than I did.
So you're telling me this story took place when we lived in the cottage?
The quote cottage, yes, quote unquote.
I know with 100% fact that the soccer field was there by the time we were living there. I know that for a fact.
Well, I don't know where.
Confident. There was lots of mud. There was lots of mud all around that campus. I'm sure you found, because I know I found mud. Alex and I found mud, and we swam in it. And Dad got pictures of us. Did Dad get pictures of you in your mud?
No, he did not. Are you trying to say that I just imagined my mud? I feel like you're trying to I think you're trying to gaslight me right now. You're trying to make me so uncertain of my memories that you're driving me insane. I'm going to email somebody and find out, because I am even if the field of mud we swam in, I'm sure that part happened. It might not have been where the soccer field was, but I do remember when we first got there that was forest. And I remember specifically when they put the soccer field and the softball field in.
I was going to say, I remember them putting in the softball field. I definitely remember that, but I'm fairly certain that the soccer field had always been there since we arrived.
Well, maybe that's what it was then. But anyway...
But email your contact, Kev. Email your contact. Yeah. I want to know if I'm right.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Are you going to tell me if I'm right?
I'm going to probably forget to do that and never get around to it because I'm so busy with other things that are way more important than settling this argument. Why don't you just text Mom? She loved it when we involved her in our last argument.
Apparently that really confused her.
She got really upset with us. I thought we were just joking around, but anyway...
Wait, she was actually upset?
Well, no, I got that idea from the text. Like, she was like, oh my God, who cares about this stupid thing? Or something like that. She did not care. What were we even arguing about? I don't even remember. Well, I don't remember.
Oh, yes, about you putting gum in my hair.
Oh,
Apparently.
right, that whole thing.
Yes. I had said that I had never had gotten gum in my hair, which, by the way, is still true. Because I never got gum in my hair. Someone else, Heather, put gum in my hair.
I'm going to tell you another story. One time at the raffle, I won the quilt, and you won the Coneheads on VHS.
Fucking can't believe I won the Coneheads. And you watched that movie more than I did.
No, stop interrupting. This is crucial. The quilt was the coveted item in the raffle. Okay. You threw such a fit about that quilt that Dad pulled me aside and begged me. He bent down on one knee and begged me to let you have the quilt and me to take the Coneheads movie.
Oh my God.
You get a little too combative, maybe, is what I'm trying to say. Like, maybe just let some stuff go sometimes, except that you got gum in your hair one time.
That is
I remember
hilarious.
Dad trying to get it out of your hair. I do not personally remember putting it in your hair. And when you have children that are siblings, they might argue, much as we have been arguing for the last 10 minutes and not talking about parenthood, the entire topic of this show.
I mean, we kind of have.
I mean, it's in a way, sure. Well, I had, not like anyone's listening anyway, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. But maybe someday somebody will listen. We did have one person swing through. I should have mentioned her when she came in. Marianne 99, thanks for coming through. Thanks for sharing. If you come back, then you'll have missed me saying that.
Did she say something?
I don't think she said something. She clapped for us and she shared the show. She shared the show. That's like a tongue twister. Okay, so bro, I thought another fun topic to go into.
But didn't she stick around?
Well, she did for your story about the labor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yes. I thought it would be cool to do some comparisons between now and when we were kids, like as parents' kids. I prepared an entirety of one topic for this segment because I got distracted and forgot to write down all my other ideas or recollections. But I was thinking, because Holly recently lost a tooth, and how we do tooth fairy now. Mm-hmm. Because when we were kids, of course, we got money for losing a tooth.
Yes.
But with now, it's like, because when we would get $1, we could actually buy something with $1 when we were kids, right?
You got $1 for losing a tooth?
Or 50 cents, was it? Whatever it was, I could buy at least 2 things that I wanted with that amount of money at that age.
I got $0.25 per tooth.
You got $0.25? No, you didn't. Come on. It went up as we got older. It was like $1 by the time we were 12.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe I got silver dollars and I just am remembering them as quarters.
No, you're right. I think it was silver dollars now that you mentioned that. It was $1.
Or silver quote unquote dollars, whatever they're called, dollar coins.
Yeah. I could get like little My Little Pony cards and gum with that. It was awesome, right? But so I was like, I mean, I don't want to give her like $10 for a tooth, because that's about what it would have to be to kind of for her to get something she likes. So we just get her like a little toy and we put that there instead.
You're a much stronger parent than I am.
Oh, you've given them, what do you give them, like $50 per pop? You're just like, here's an iPad.
Heather,
for
Rebecca
your tooth
has controlled the tooth fairy money this entire time. And she's like, I need you to put this under the pillow. She hands me a $10 bill. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? For a tooth? For a tooth?
Inflation.
It has never been the same. Like when they were younger, it was like $1. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Whatever. You know, then it like turned to $5 and I was like, fucking $5? And then it was like $10. And then the funniest one, and this is where I was kind of on board with like doing $20, but Sophie comes downstairs and asks us, hey, does the tooth? It was like in December, I believe, was when this happened. She's like, is the tooth fairy real? And I'm like, yeah, of course the tooth fairy's real. She's like, huh. Well, I've had a tooth under my pillow for 3 days, and she hasn't come yet. And luckily it had been snowing for 3 days, which we don't typically get out here. So I was like, oh, well, that's because it's been snowing, so she hasn't been able to travel. But that's not a problem. I will let her know that there's an emergency tooth that she needs to pick up. And we ended up giving her $20 with a little apology letter from the tooth fairy.
But did she continue to believe in the tooth fairy after that? Or did she was the jig up?
No, she kept believing in it.
Okay.
That was still pretty early on. I think she was maybe 8 years old, 7 or 8 when that had happened. But yeah, Chloe figured it out pretty early on. And it got to the point where she was like, I just want to rip this loose tooth out that just got loose yesterday, just so you guys can give me money. I'm like, that's not how this works. Stop trying to rip your teeth out.
She's just like, you know what? Can I get some pliers? I'm going to have new ones growing in anyway. And I'm strapped for cash over here. Do you remember Dad's story to us about the tooth fairy? I asked him one time, what does the tooth fairy do with all these teeth? The answer?
Mm-hmm.
She adds them to her tooth castle that she's been building.
Oh.
An extension on. That is the most disgusting thought to think of now.
That is.
Massive castle of tiny baby teeth.
There is a TV show that the children used to watch called Teen Titans Go. It is a DC, like the DC comics. It's like Cyborg and Robin and Beast Boy, yada yada, whatever the other 2 characters are. But it's like kind of this cutesy cartoon, and it's hilarious. And I actually got into watching it, and I love this show.
Okay.
But they have one of their villains is the Tooth Fairy. And he comes around collecting people's teeth. That's his thing. And he goes back and he's building a castle or his fortress or whatever it was out of teeth, as well as eating the teeth. Yes.
Okay.
It was a very interesting episode.
Yeah, that sounds disturbing. That sounds like, I'm like, now if somebody had told me that, I'd be like, so Tooth Fairy is a serial killer? Because that's what they do with teeth. They're like, I know, I'm going to put this in my tooth collection. It's a trinket. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
Well, the joys of parenthood. We had actually, Holly lost a tooth on Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
So she got Santa and the Tooth Fairy in one night.
Nice.
She's never been more thrilled. Yeah. I was like, I was kind of glad we could give that to her at a young age when she's like, oh, I was going to say, okay, when I was little, I think, unlike you, I was a very, very light sleeper. You were an incredibly rock solid heavy sleeper.
Yep. Still am.
Still am too. Yeah. But so I think when I would lose teeth, Mom and Dad knew that if they tried to like take it out from under my pillow and put something under my pillow, that they were going to definitely wake me up. So Dad developed this system for me, which is that he would have me put a shoe next to my bed, put the tooth in the shoe. And then as he leaned over to kiss me goodnight, he'd just do a little one-hand switch, leave the money and take the tooth, right?
Yeah.
And out he would go. And so, first of all, that's how I thought it was supposed to be. You put your tooth in a shoe next to your bed, and the Tooth Fairy comes. And then, as I got older, no, that's not what we do. We do under the pillow. Well, honestly, we don't do anything with Charlie because we have not recovered a single tooth she's lost so far. I don't know what she does with them. It's like she swallow them. Does she throw them away? I have no idea where these teeth go. And she's lost every single one of them. She's had to have a couple removed for surgery, like for dental reasons.
Yeah.
But then she's the couple that she's lost naturally. I've never been there when she lost one. Like, I've never seen one. With Holly, we do the under the pillow thing. So we, but yeah, that's what we do. But I had to find out at like a teenage age, when you don't want to be embarrassed, that the literal entire rest of the world puts their tooth under their pillow for the tooth fairy to come and get. So that was humiliating. But to cap it all off, when I was complaining to Dad, he had literally no memory of ever having done it like that. I was like, are you kidding me right now? And when I was 12, when I lost my very last tooth, I actually caught him red-handed. By then, I, of course, did not believe in the tooth fairy anymore. I caught him red-handed, chunking the change into my shoe and taking the tooth as he leaned over to kiss me goodnight. And we just laughed. It was like, okay. I finally discovered the tooth fairy.
Hilarious.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was one time where I was super proud of myself where the you know, like, I needed to get this money under the pillow, but the child was not going to sleep and it was getting late. And so I actually went in and scolded her for being awake, and then ended it with a kiss on the forehead and reaching my hand under the pillow and swiping the tooth and leaving the money behind. I was kind of proud of myself for that. And then I went to bed.
Nice.
And we have saved the kids' teeth. There's like a bag of teeth around here somewhere.
Is it in really Sophie's shoebox?
No,
with the chicken bone and the lock of hair.
That would seem like a great place for them to be, but no, they are not there. We've saved Holly. I mean, they're scattered all over the place, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm sure we could find them. I don't know.
I don't think we have ours separated by child. They're just together in one area and scattered.
I see.
It's kind of weird.
We never got our baby teeth. Like, Mom and Dad didn't save our baby teeth. I think that's like a recent thing. Is it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. People. I think Mike's mom saved like one each of their baby teeth.
Yeah.
To give to them or something like that. But yeah, that's about it. I think that's maybe a newer tradition. Yes.
So I was talking to this guy at work the other day, and do you remember how Grandpa used to record us? He had like a home camcorder, and it like took whatever South African version of VHSs were.
Sure, yeah, I remember that.
Okay, well, I would like to know whatever happened to those, because I would really like to be able to hear what I sounded like as a child. And out there somewhere, there are VHSs with us as children talking on them.
Well, I seem to recall having a conversation with Dad at one point about this and saying a similar thing to him, and him saying, no, there was no actual sound recorded. It's just visuals. Like, I don't think it had a way of... Well, I imagine maybe the earliest clunkier VHS or like recorder camcorders maybe didn't record sound. I don't know.
I disagree with that. I distinctly remember watching recordings of myself and hearing the sound. I know they exist.
I do too, but that might have been later when we already moved to the States.
I think Grandpa had what's that film? It's like, I can't remember if it's 5mm, 9mm, or 10mm, something like that. That kind of a camera. And that camera could not record sound. And Nicola actually got hold of that footage and had it converted onto a DVD, and we have that DVD floating around here somewhere. And it's got a bunch of cool footage on it, including you somewhere on there, but no sound. But you were just a baby.
Okay.
I was not in the footage because I had not existed yet.
Well, what's interesting is how you end up with all the old cool stuff and I get none of it. That's all I can think of in this conversation.
Nicola for a copy of it, and at the time, you were living where you did not have access to having a DVD player.
Gotcha.
So it wouldn't have done you any good.
I would still like to have it. I'd still love to have some of all those old pictures of mom and dad and stuff. You know what? Dibs on the family photo albums when mom and dad die. And with that, we end this show. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you're talking about the albums that are sitting in my closet right now?
You motherfucker. Why do you get everything? All of the old family albums?
I literally live closer to mom and dad, and I have helped them move multiple times. So I get the things that they don't want because they're trying to declutter as they move. Heather?
I'm slightly insulted that they don't want all of our baby pictures still.
Well, they had to downsize to a much smaller place, and they're like, we really don't have room for these. Can you please do this favor and keep them safe for us? In your massive house that's not much bigger than our small place.
You know who does have a bigger house than both of your guys' houses probably put together? Me. I have a bigger house where we could fit that shit.
The United States. Not gonna ship it. Not gonna ship it.
Well, I tell you what, you're gonna scan them all in and send them to me digitally. And
oh my God,
you can start right now because we've reached the end of our 45-minute show. Fantastic.
Hilarious.
So in closing, I'd like to leave a little bit of advice, which is take all of the valuable family memories first before your siblings get to them so that they can't get any of them later.
Well,
and
next
with that,
time, mom and dad need to leave. Here's my advice to you, Heather. Next time mom and dad need to move, I will call you and you can fly out here and help them move and get the other cool shit that I would otherwise get.
They don't have any left. What are you even talking about? I would fly over just to rob you. In fact, that is my new plan. Rob, Ryan, fly over. Okay. Anyway, until next time, I'm going to end live, but call me, okay?
Okay. Chowsers.